Hi everyone, it's Alyssa Corm with Investors Business Daily and welcome to Investing Strategies. On this episode, we're taking a look at some of the hottest trends getting a lot of investor attention right out of the gate in 2021. First up, solar. The CFO of Sunrun joins us to discuss the driving forces behind the industry's growth and what's ahead for the company. Next, crypto. Bitcoin is booming once again, and the CEO of VanEck tells us why the story now is different than the boom-bust cycle we saw in 2017 and 2018. Plus, Accenture breaks down the tech themes set to generate a lot of buzz at this year's all-digital CES conference, 5G, health tech, and more. Investing Strategies starts right now. Now, talk about a run. Sunrun stock ran up some 400% in 2020 and is continuing its upward trajectory. With me now to discuss the driving forces behind the solar industry's growth and what's ahead for Sunrun in 2021 is the company's CFO, Tom von Reichbauer. Thanks for being here today, Tom.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
All right, so Sunrun stock had a huge year in 2020. To what do you attribute the company's success over the last year? I mean, it was a year that was truly unprecedented in so many ways.
Yeah, we really did have a great year. The Sunrun team, who's been on this journey for more than 13 years now, really did an excellent job of pivoting our business and powering through a challenging year on many fronts. We successfully transitioned to a virtual selling model early in the year. We're able to, get through the early challenges in the spring with the onset of COVID and just transition the way we operate. So selling to customers in a virtual environment, making sure we had continuity of our ability to install. I think the real thing here was, we had the right product for the right moment in time. Consumers were spending more time at home, spending more on residential electricity, thinking more about their home environment. And against that backdrop, we saw increasing utility prices, we saw increasing grid reliability issues, and we could offer customers a product where they could get into something that was more affordable, more reliable, and cleaner for society overall. Really was the right product at the right moment in time. And so a lot of exciting things setting us up for a really strong 2021.
Yeah, it sounds like a really big opportunity for you guys. And speaking of opportunities, the company acquired Vivint Solar last year. Can you talk a little bit about why that acquisition made sense for the company?
Yeah, the acquisition of the Vivint team is a really exciting moment for us to take a sort of step function change in the scale of our operation. So with that team coming on board, we crossed the 500,000 customer threshold, much larger footprint for us, added a really incremental route to market for us. So Vivint historically had sold through their direct to home channel, selling to customers effectively door to door, whereas Sunrun had historically relied upon digital lead generation, retail footprint, some of our channel partners. And so adding that sort of incremental route to market really expands our presence, where I think we can become the brand that's synonymous with residential solar and energy storage. There's a bunch of synergies to be found. In that we see a lot of overlap in some of the back office operations and corporate overheads, and so meaningful financial value there that can be unlocked through the transaction as well. But it just sets us up to be the clear leader in an industry that has so much headroom left to grow.
And also another area that's expected to help the industry grow is the regulatory picture. That's what investors, I think, are focused on a lot also for 2021. So what are your thoughts on that, and how is that set to impact your business?
Yeah, we've got a handful of things that I think are really compelling to lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. Some people are excited about what we're doing because of the decarbonization and environmental benefits. Some people are really excited about solar because it's been a phenomenal job creator over the last 10 to 15 years. There's over 250,000 people that work in residential solar in the US today. Has continued to be a great creator of good quality, high paying jobs. And so, we see a lot of interest from both sides of the aisle. We applaud Congress. They extended the solar investment tax credit right at the tail end of December there. And so we're extended at the 26% level for 2 more years, which creates more opportunity for us to bring more value to consumers and to our business.
And looking ahead here, it looks like analysts are projecting a profitable year for Sunrun in 2021. And we talked about the acquisition a little earlier, but what else is enabling the company to continue to fuel its growth for the year ahead?
Yeah, one of the most exciting things about this business is just how early we are in it. And people forget that sometimes because residential solar has been around for a while. We've been on this journey for a while, and yet we're still at roughly 3% penetration in the US. If the industry were to grow at 15% every year for the next 10 years, we'd still only approach 13% penetration of residential solar in the US. Consumers spend nearly $200 billion a year on residential electricity. Utilities spend over $100 billion more on capital expenditures every year. And so the opportunity for us to deploy to more homes is really untapped right now. And then for us to bring the assets we have, our solar and storage systems together to create networked virtual power plants to bring more resiliency and reliability to the grid overall has been a really exciting area for us. So there's a lot of headroom left in this market. It's early days, and we're on a long-term journey here.
Yeah, well, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks so much, Tom, for shedding light on all things Sunrun for us today. The solar industry has been very hot, and we're going to keep tabs on Sunrun.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. And coming up next, the CEO of VanEck weighs in on the big boom we're seeing for Bitcoin. That's after the break.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to IBD Live.
Okay, here we go.
Now, after a huge move in 2020 and a continuation of new highs this year, Bitcoin is squarely in the spotlight. And here now to discuss what's ahead for crypto is Jan VanEck, the CEO of VanEck. Thanks for joining me today, Jan.
Of course.
All right, so first, what do you make of this stunning move we've seen for crypto as of late, and what do you attribute it to?
Well, I think it's hard to know in the short term what drives the prices, but what I'd like to focus on is some fundamental changes that's happened in the market since 2017, early 2017, when we as a firm got involved and the Bitcoin price was 2,500 a coin. So big picture, of course, the number of investors has expanded dramatically into the tens of millions. Square, through its Cash app last year, and PayPal have added their multi-$10 million plus customers to the ecosystem. So that's gotten mainstreamed. It's on your Apple phone. So and Mass Mutual and a big public company called MicroStrategies bought over hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin. So endowments are looking at it. Institutional investors are looking at it, of course. But underneath the surface, and this is not available to a lot of investors, has been the emergence of what's called decentralized finance, which means that actually you can earn interest on your Bitcoin holdings. So you have to go to different crypto platforms to get that, but they're offering 6% and more. And in a very low interest rate world, that is going to attract a lot of investor attention. So that's number one. And then number two is just the fact that these platforms have become so robust. They're away from our traditional financial system, but not only can you earn interest, but you can structure derivatives. There's a lot of different types of financial products, probably insurance products in the future. You'll have a credit card this year where you can actually earn points in Bitcoin. So I just think that all those things are just going to broaden and more mainstream the use of Bitcoin. Lastly, sorry for the long answer, that regulators are giving green lights to broker dealers holding Bitcoin for their clients and banks using them in financial transactions. So that green light has also given some impetus to the price of Bitcoin this year.
Definitely. And, with the last big run in Bitcoin a couple of years ago, there was a lot of buzz and a lot of debate about comparing Bitcoin to gold. And the two, one side saying that, you can kind of think about it in the same way. And the other side staunchly saying, no, that is not the appropriate comparison to make. What are your thoughts on that? And how do you think that conversation has changed in the last couple of years?
Right. Well, VanEck is very close to the gold investing community. We started the first gold fund in the United States and a big holder in gold mining companies. But I do think Bitcoin should be part of your diversification portfolio. I say both. Own gold, own some gold shares, but also own Bitcoin. Bitcoin acts a little bit like I call it, a store of value and a tech stock, sort of a third a store of value and 2/3 a tech stock. Maybe it's half and half now. So it's got different dynamics, just like silver as an alternative to gold has different dynamics. But absolutely in 2017, we determined this is a legitimate long-term diversifier to your portfolio. And I think in a way, it's got a lot of upside. Gold's total market cap is about 12 trillion. Right now, Bitcoin and other digital assets just passed 1 trillion in total value. But even if it's a junior competitor to gold, why couldn't it get to half the total market value of gold, which would be 5 or 6 trillion, which would be another 10x from here.
So do you think the fact that Bitcoin is no longer seen as a novelty, that there are real uses for it and that mainstream adoption has broadened, do you think that that should prevent sort of that boom and bust that we saw in Bitcoin when we rewind the clock a couple of years ago? Or how should investors be thinking about the stability when they're thinking about investing in Bitcoin?
I think that's a great point. And Plan B, who's one of the, I think, most reputable commentators on the Bitcoin price, basically points out that Bitcoin has gone through different phases of maturation, right? When its total market cap was 1 million, obviously it was a toy, right? When it got to be 100 million, okay, it's a little bit more serious. Obviously now with again, the millions of users and the total value well over $500 billion, you're bringing more use cases and more investors into the space. And so I would expect, to answer your question, less volatility in the price. The big picture to me was, and this happened to gold last year, can this asset reach all-time highs, which for Bitcoin was in 2017. And when it did, I think that kind of shows, well, wait a minute, this is not just a bubble, a tulip bubble, right? And it does not have legs to it, long-term legs. And I think absolutely the market move in the last 3 to 6 months has proven that Bitcoin has a much longer future trajectory than just a one-term bubble. I hope the drawdowns aren't going to be as big, but absolutely investors should expect that it could go down 50% or more. In any, like stocks did in March of last year, right? And so what I recommend to people is buy a little. I know they think, oh my God, it's gone, I've missed the whole thing, but buy a little, just to get your mind over it. And then if the price goes down significantly, buy more.
All right. And speaking of accessibility to crypto, getting that in an easy way, that's definitely something of interest to investors in our audience. And VanEck recently filed for a Bitcoin fund. What do you think that is going to do in terms of the accessibility for crypto in the investing world?
I mean, Bitcoin right now is as easy as your phone, right? You can use your Square Cash app, you can use PayPal, you can use Coinbase's account. Now, whether you like the fees and all the features there is a second question. What an ETF brings is, frankly, the convenience of buying it out of your investment account and also the tax reporting. And I know that sounds silly, but people don't like to do their paperwork. They don't like to file their taxes. And when all that stuff is provided for them with their brokerage system, that level of convenience is important. The other thing is the reliability of the infrastructure of a national stock exchange like a NASDAQ or a New York. You still hear of crypto exchanges going down. You don't quite know what their capitalization is. So with an ETF, you also have a more stable infrastructure. And of course, then you have the regulatory overlay, which should give investors more comfort. But listen, I don't see it anytime in the first half of 2021. So who knows when it'll happen.
All right, well, shifting gears here and focusing our attention on another hot trend over the last year, and that is the esports and video game group. Now, that trend did see a lot of acceleration in the pandemic. The VanEck ESPO ETF up some 80% in 2020, proving that this trend, it's not a flash in the pan, that it is here to stay. What are your thoughts on what we're seeing with that trend?
Yeah, I like to puncture myths around gaming because I think, in my mind, at least, and in some people's minds, you think of a single person playing a game on a device or a PC or something like that. And I think what's really changed, the real revolution in gaming, is that it's social. And that's why I think it presents a threat to, let's say, a Netflix. So Netflix, you're sitting on your sofa, it's not very social. And Netflix itself in 2019 said that they saw that gaming was a competitor for them. And just to do a comparison, Fortnite has 270 million paying customers. That's more than Netflix at about 200 million, right? So that's how revolutionary gaming as a social phenomenon is. The other thing, obviously, is the use of your phone, like I was talking about, for buying Bitcoin and playing games on your phone, which you couldn't used to be able to do. And that's also broadened the use. It's also very much a global phenomenon. There's some overlap we were talking about before between stocks held in our ESPO ETF and the Investors Business Daily 50 top growth stocks. But some of the faster growers are internationally. So, so there's lots of ways of playing this trend. In the future, what gets me excited is, okay, you take those 270 million players of Fortnite, you can cross-sell them other things, right? You don't have to just sell them uniforms in the game or whatever people buy within the Fortnite game. And of course, there's a lot of that going on. But wow, what if you started offering them streaming videos or other kind of social connections like you get in Facebook? And so all these industries are kind of competing against each other for people's attention and entertainment.
Yeah, such good points there. And it sounds like that trend has some room to grow. So we'll keep an eye on it. Thank you so much for your perspective today on these hot trends.
Thank you.
And when we come back, Accenture is breaking down the tech themes set to take center stage at this year's all-digital CES conference. That's next.
IBD Digital gives you access to our premium content.
The best of Investors Business Daily.
A team with decades of experience serving up actionable investing content, a sophisticated tool set to facilitate your own deep dives, and educational resources that will give you an edge in the stock market. We have over 100 years of stock market data, all focused on one thing: what makes a winning stock.
We're taking the guesswork out of investing. Subscribe now to build a better portfolio and make more money in the stock market.
As 2021 kicks off, now's a great time to discuss the technology themes set to make a mark on the year ahead. And joining me now to discuss some of the key trends is Robin Murdoch. He's the global lead for software and platforms industry at Accenture. Thanks for joining me today, Robin.
Great to be with you.
All right, so there's no doubt that technology has played a huge role in the response to COVID-19. So can you talk to us a little bit about what stands out to you in terms of that technology response?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the first thing is that the technology worked. Technology's formed the foundation to our digital lives. It's enabled the connectivity through our broadband connections. That worked. The cloud platforms worked. The social networks worked. The entertainment worked. So I think foundationally, technology has played a role in supporting our lives. It's also allowed us to, change our user behavior. The rise of things like Peloton, the uptick in gaming, and then obviously the ability to work remotely. Before the pandemic, it was about a quarter of people were working from home, and now it's about half. And our survey, recent survey, shows that the expectation is that will continue.
And you can't really talk about January if you're connected in the tech world without talking about CES. Really great place every year to kind of set the tone for the tech trends set to have an impact on the year ahead. So as CES kicks off, what's your expectation for what's going to get a lot of the buzz this year?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that it's no longer just consumer electronics show. It's across all industries. You know, you'll hear from automotive companies, health and fitness companies, entertainment companies, even industrial equipment companies. And that really demonstrates that technology underpins every industry. The other thing we'll see is the power of cloud computing and artificial intelligence, giving a lot of the tech that gets exhibited at CES real superpowers. And that can be everything from that smart speaker all the way through to autonomous vehicles. So really, technology enables these amazing digital experiences, and that's really going to be the highlight of CES.
Yeah, and quite a different conference this year with everything being remote, a big challenge. But I think we're all getting kind of used to that remote thing, as you mentioned. But with all that in mind, what technology themes do you think are the key ones to watch as 2021 unfolds?
Yeah, I mean, there's three that I would highlight. The first one is that 5G is now real. Past CES sort of talked about the opportunity of 5G, but we're now seeing 5G entering the device space with smartphones, and that's really wave one of 5G. Wave two will be 5G embedded in lots of new consumer tech, and maybe next year at CES we'll see 5G embedded in things like earbuds, glasses, etc. The second trend would be all around digital health and fitness. Fitness has been digitized fitness with the likes of Peloton and Lululemon's Mirror. Certainly were showcased at CES last year, but looking forward, digital health will be a key component, and that extends not just from fitness but to healthcare itself. And then the final point would be around the sustainability agenda. The reality is that technology innovation needs to be responsible, and certainly at CES and looking forwards. In our surveys, we found that 60% of consumers in North America intend to make choices around their purchase decisions, really bearing in mind that sustainability agenda.
Very interesting stuff. Well, Robin, thanks so much for breaking down these trends for us. It sounds like there's a lot to watch for the year ahead.
Indeed. Thank you.
All right. And thank you all for watching this episode of Investing Strategies. For Investors Business Daily, I'm Alyssa Coram. Hi there. Thanks so much for watching Investing Strategies on our YouTube channel. If you want more executive interviews and analysis of key trends to watch, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date.